Hello friends. Meet again on the 3-Minute World channel. This time we will present the storyline of a film entitled, This film tells the story of a happy family, but that happiness must be shaken by the arrival of a young man who has a relationship with the wife of the family. What is the film like? Let's get straight to the film. The film begins with Rosalie and her daughter, Mehdi, chatting in the kitchen while preparing dinner. They await Rob's arrival and plan to have dinner together. However, suddenly the doorbell rings. Luke, her father, answers the door and finds 2 police officers bearing bad news. Rob reportedly drowned while swimming with his friends, and sadly, he could not be saved. This news devastates Rosalie. Tears erupt between them, accompanied by guilt for failing to protect Rob. Overwhelmed by guilt, Rosalie locks Rob's room and forbids anyone from entering. Family life begins to drift apart, each preoccupied with their own affairs. One day, Rosalie and Mehdi visit a community center to heal their emotional wounds. There, they meet Jet, a handsome young man the same age as Rob. Jet is still grieving the death of his grandmother in a nursing home, and he is also worried that his apartment lease is about to expire. The conversation is captivating and comfortable, so Rosalie invites Jet to her house and introduces him to Luke. Over time, Jet visits more frequently, and his relationship with Mehdi grows closer. One day, Mehdi played a joke on Jet by splashing him with water. Rosalie saw the incident with a different perspective. When Jet approached Rosalie and asked for a change of clothes, Rosalie paused for a moment, wondering what was strange about Jet. That night, Tom, a priest and family friend, came to visit. Jet then told Rosalie that they had many similarities. Jet's family also had a priest friend who often visited the house. That night, while falling asleep, Rosalie dreamed of Jet and Jet being intimate. Rosalie wondered why this could be happening. The next day, Rosalie took Jet to explore an old cabin far from her house. They heard a strange noise, but when they checked, they found nothing there. After a while, they decided to go home, but unfortunately, Rosalie couldn't find her car keys. They had no choice but to stay there. That night, they chatted and shared their life problems. Jet was very attentive to Rosalie and tried to calm her down. A few moments later, they decided to go to sleep, and that night, Rosalie had another dream of being intimate, but this time, the dream was very real. But the dream ended when Jet suddenly arrived. He claimed Rosalie kept calling his name. Rosalie denied it and immediately asked Jet to leave. Long story short, the car keys were finally found, and when Jet returned home, he said he had also dreamed of Rosalie last night. However, Rosalie simply told him to let the dream be just a dream. Upon arriving home, they found Mehdi being threatened by several thugs with knives. Jet quickly intervened and promised to always protect the family. That night, Jet returned to Rosalie and presented her with a necklace. Rosalie tried to refuse, but Jet insisted on putting it on. Jet suddenly kissed Rosalie, but Rosalie quickly denied it, saying it wasn't true. The next day, Luke announced he was leaving for a few days on business abroad. He then told Jet to look after Rosalie and Mehdi. He also allowed Jet to stay there while he was gone. Rosalie tried to refuse, saying she could look after the house and Mehdi, but Mehdi convinced Rosalie and asked Jet to stay, especially since Mehdi was still worried since yesterday's incident. Long story short, when she left her room, Rosalie accidentally saw Jet in the bathroom. Rosalie's thoughts immediately wandered, but she tried to fight it and pretend not to see anything. The next day, Rosalie confided in Tom that she kept dreaming about Jet and thinking about him. Tom was angry and asked Rosalie to stop thinking about Jet and stay away from him. That night, Rosalie dreamed about Jet again, but this time she decided to meet him in his room. Jet suddenly came out of his room and greeted her, and they finally made love without further ado, for the first time. The next morning, Jet admitted that he had fallen for Rosalie and wanted to be with her. Rosalie remained silent, until Jet finally asked Rosalie to make love again. However, afterward, Rosalie felt guilty and thought this wasn't right. Rosalie then went to Tom and told him everything that had happened. Hearing this, Tom became angry and asked why it had happened. Rosalie admitted that she had truly made a mistake and wanted to end it all and completely break away from Jet. Rosalie didn't want Meaty to know all this, so she decided to leave Meaty at her grandmother's house while Rosalie and Tom resolved this problem. Meanwhile, Tom began investigating Jet's past and discovered some problems with Jet. Tom approached Jet and told him that Jet had stolen from the nursing home. Jet denied this and immediately asked Tom to leave. Long story short, Rosalie returned. Jet said he was truly in love with Rosalie and invited her to go with him. He promised to marry her. Jet also blamed Rosalie for what happened that night. Rosalie, disbelieving, immediately hit Jet, but strangely, Jet hit her back. Moments later, Tom contacted Rosalie and asked her to come to the church. Rosalie rushed there and asked Jet for permission. However, on the way, Rosalie received another call and learned that Tom had been hospitalized due to an accident at the church. Upon hearing this, Rosalie decided to investigate Jet further instead of going to the hospital. Rosalie discovered that Jet's real name was Ryan. She also visited people who knew Jet and the apartment where he lived. There, she found his cell phone and several other pieces of evidence and took them with her. Meaty, meanwhile, returned home because she felt uncomfortable living at her grandmother's house, where Jet was alone. However, there, Meaty saw a bag containing Jet's and Rosalie's belongings. Jet finally confessed to Meaty that he was having a relationship with Rosalie. An enraged Meaty then contacted Rosalie and became furious with her. Afterwards, Rosalie decided she couldn't let this situation continue any longer. She contacted Jet and asked him to come to the cabin they had previously visited. There, Rosalie pretended to invite Jet to get intimate again, but before that could happen, Rosalie said she wanted to go downstairs and get a drink. In the kitchen, she grabbed a knife and intended to kill Jet. However, as she was about to return, Jet appeared and showed her his cell phone, which Rosalie had taken. Cornered, Rosalie finally chose to run into the plantation near the cabin. Jet chased and intended to kill her there. However, not long after, Luke arrived and immediately helped Rosalie. When the opportunity arose, Rosalie helped Luke and attacked Jet with the knife she was carrying. Moments later, Rosalie was visited by the police, who stated that Rosalie was acquitted of all charges because she acted in self-defense. Eventually, Rosalie returned to Luke, apologized for what had happened, and they decided to turn over a new leaf and live happily ever after. Until the film finally ends. That's the plot of our film this time. See you again in our next film.